I'm Gentleman Josh Hill.
I'm Aaron Jeffrey.
I'm Johnson Jazz Busiest.
I'm Mike Malott.
I'm Raffian Stock.
Tune into
Donttap
Donttap Podcast.
Donttap
Podcast.
John Jones.
Follow me on Twitter.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the number one rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework.
Man, that's why saying the rankings are bullshit.
Motherfucker from Canada.
Got a really high fight IQ.
But this fight, I'm telling you.
Welcome back to another edition of the Donttap Podcast. We could look back. We definitely could. But, record-breaking strikes. We pretty much have a guy in Vettori that's got punched in the face 1,000 billion times, and we're late in the week. So we need to look forward and not look back. Vettori just needs to get a better boxing coach and work his footwork or figure something for that. And I'll have to bleep that within the first 5 minutes of the podcast. But let's just jump right into UFC Fight Night. We have Emmett versus Topuria. Some interesting spots on this card. I think there's definitely some spots here. I'm also going to be bringing a PFL spot to the table this week, and everybody can guess which one it is, of course. But I will let our guest, our last-minute guest that we asked to jump on, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who may sleep on our couch a little bit this summer because there isn't as much content out. Although if you are following Billy Briz on WNBA right now, I mean, come on. If you love basketball and you're not trying to make money on WNBA, you're just a fucking idiot. You're not following Billy right now. So, Billy Briz, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. Man. It was a bittersweet week last week. A lot of fights fell off. Had to reconstruct the way we were thinking. I rode with Chris Leroy Duncan, and it was not the Juneteenth I was hoping for.
Yeah, it didn't quite play out with him. I still think that guy's extremely talented. And I don't necessarily think it was a bad look. I just think matchup-wise, it didn't play out. But fuck. There was a couple spots for me as well too, and I think Nick as well too on that card where it was a little greasy with some of those spots. So, but let's look ahead, man. What are your spots for this week? What's your first one you're going to bring to the table?
Yeah, first spot I'm bringing to this week. It's more of like kind of giving me lock of the week vibes, man. Probably make a video for here. Brandon Allen versus Bruno Silva here. Loving my guy Brandon Allen here at -188. I like Bruno Silva, made money on him last time out against Brad Tavares. Nobody thought he was going to really win. He was an underdog, kind of somewhat underrated. But I feel like the theme that we've really seen with him throughout his career is his grappling chops. While he has good grappling chops, it's just not that elite level. And Brandon Allen, on his good nights, is a very elite grappler. I feel like he's starting to put it together. And he's been on a nice little streak right now, man. I mean, 5-fight win streak right here. We're still getting him at a good price tag here. I think Brandon Allen rolls. And it's a little bit worrisome because I've been all in on Brandon Allen before. And I lost some dollars on him against Sean Strickland. Made some money on him throughout his career. And I got to go back to the well this week, man. I think I'm going to be, no pun intended, all in on Brandon Allen. Really good price tag this week, -188. Most appealing price tag on the whole entire card, in my opinion. How are you guys feeling about this one? Do you think Brandon Allen's going to get the job done as easy as I'm thinking he does? Or do you think Bruno Silva's a live dog? The Brazilian comes through. A couple Brazilian fighters on this card. We got Amanda Ribas, Gabriel Santos, Wellington Turman, Tabitha Ricci, Cleason Rodriguez. So a lot of Brazil in Florida this
I'm just
week.
going to tap in. I'm going to go with my number one pick of the night, and that's Brandon Allen. So as the card was winding down on Saturday, I bet Brandon Allen at -165. I know we were rumbling in the chats about who was going to be our plays and how we were looking in leans, and I faded this guy too much, man. I faded this guy too much, and I think that because he does get hit, I've faded him in the past, but he can absorb some strikes, and I think that that's something that he's going to have to shore up. He pretty much puts out exactly what he absorbs, but he's a gamer. And although I know that he did, it was like 5 fights ago he got KO'd. But right now we're looking at, we got a 4-fight win streak. We got 3 of his last 5 wins come via sub, right? I'm looking at the sub prop. I'm looking at Bruno. I'm looking at Silva, poor fight IQ, potential cardio issues. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at this fight. A lot of people thinking it's too greasy, and I think there's a lot of value in a lot of lines in this card. I think it's going to go a little bit later. I think that Brandon Allen drags guys into deep waters for the most part. I know he does have a first-round sub in his last couple fights, but he's more of a, I'm going to drag you to the ground, rear naked choke you after landing volume and outworking you and outpacing you. It's just he doesn't need to show up his defensive striking as well too. I think that's the only thing with Brendan Allen that's been an issue. So we look at the lines really, man. Like we have right now, the over is sitting at -150. And that's sort of interesting to me because I really do think this is going to extend. I know that with Silva, people think he's a little bit explosive. He's got the power in the beginning, and with Allen before being KO'd, it could be a problem. I don't see an early sub by Allen. I see that late if it happens. So I think this does actually stretch out late. The Allen sub right now is +163. If you actually feel like you're on the other side of this and you're not sure and you feel this fight ends inside the distance, you can look at Allen sub, Silva KO, double chance, -165. But I really do also like, and I'm throwing a bunch of lines out there and I'll lock in exactly what I like. But Allen third round decision is +225. Definitely like that third round decision line. So for me, the way that I'm going to attack this, I think that Allen does get the sub in this. I think I'll hit the Allen sub at +163. I'll hit the third round decision at +225 to cover my decision basis and maybe get.
What about the sub prop on FanDuel? Sub round 2 or 3?
I was looking like that's where this may go. I may end up just looking at the actual sub props, but I just looked at right now the third round decision to cover my decision basis, and then just hit that sub +163 alone. But I may actually venture off into the round props because that's always done well for me. And Sabatini last week got crushed. That sort of saved my whole ticket really last week, so it was pretty awesome. But I mean, even for those that are feeling that Allen may be a little bit compromised in that first round, then that -165 really isn't a bad play. I don't know if this fight sees the scorecards. That sub KO -165, both sides of the card. Silva Allen is a play as well too. So a lot of lines being thrown out there, but this was one of the first ones I was looking at. I find when I fade someone way too much, and then I see a path to victory. Silva's been, submitted in a couple of his last fights. I just think that's a play for me. So I like Allen. I'm right with you. So that's likely going to be a big play for the podcast. And Nick, I mean, I don't know really what's left to say, but do you have anything else to say on this fight? I don't think he does.
Yeah, not much, man. Like I'm on the Allen side. I'm not quite as confident as both of you are on it. I hit that 165 line. That's really all I was going to bring to the table. I don't think this fight's going to a decision. Allen has shown durability issues in the past, and although his striking looked good in his last fight, if he stands and trades with Bruno Silva, I think he's going to go to sleep. Like, we can't. Like, I'll give it to Clint for saying it because this is the thing that I had on this fight too is if he went to the body the slightest bit, I think he can do work to Brendan Allen. I like Brendan Allen's come up. I think he's doing better than he once was, but I do also think that this is a large step up. And as I said, I think his chin can be checked. So I like the sub and KO prop that you mentioned, 165 on DraftKings. I already hit it. So that's where I stand on this one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see not necessarily the prayer that KO'd Tavares, because that's just sort of doesn't really tell me much. But when he fought Pereira, if I see that Silva, then this is gonna be a greasy fucking fight. But the way that he came in when he was submitted in his last submission loss, he just didn't show up at all. And if that shows up, he was like throwing punches wild, like sucking wind. It was bad to watch. I don't know.
I think another thing to throw into the cap here is the fact that it's in Florida. I feel like that is a little bit of a trip. Maybe he has a bad weight cut or something like that. I feel like Brandon Allen training out there in Vegas and stuff like that, he's probably more accustomed to the is he training out of Vegas or is he training
I think he's still he's in Florida.
Florida, so even better. I didn't want to check that out.
So I've seen a bunch.
So he's going to be down there in Florida. He's going to be the hometown guy. This is in Jacksonville. I mean, I feel like this is a set-up fight for Brandon Allen.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think that Silva could definitely spoil the party, but a lot of the signs are pointing towards Allen for me on this one. So Nick, what is your spot you want to bring to the table? Because those are two of our number one spots out of the way. What's your spot for the week?
Well, I got the picture up behind there, man. I'm going with the guy who wants to look like Paddy Pimblett with Zalga Zumagulov. I think that. I don't think it's that greasy, man. Like, if you look at his opponent comes in and people are going to look at the finishes, but he's been facing guys that are like 2-1, 0-0. Like, the level of competition isn't there at all. If you go to MMA decisions, you have only 3 judges that score that fight for Pavia. You have 1 judge that scores that fight for Molina, and you have nobody that scores that fight for Johnson. So although he comes in, I feel like people are taking a look at this record and thinking that Zalgas isn't quite the guy that we think he is. But if you watch those fights, man, his record in the UFC should be far better. He's very active on the feet. His wrestling's on point. And I just think this is going to be way too much too soon for his opponent. I think we're getting a really good line on this fight just because, as I said, people look at Zalgas' record and they look at Joshua Van's record and see that he has all these finishes. But I don't think people are looking too much into it, at least from the public eye. I think a lot of people are staying away from this. I think Zalgas is a good parlay piece, and I think he's at a bettable line at minus 180.
Yeah, I even looked at some of the lines that were even a little bit better than 180 at one point. It's probably gone now, but you're not wrong on that. I think there's levels to it. I think there is a levels game, and I think he's been faded just because of this narrative that the judges don't like him and split decision, and he's a greasy guy to bet for and whatever else. But I think that when you find value where there's a gap from where you think the line should be and where it's at, not a bad play. I think it's a sharp play, to be honest. I don't see this guy coming out and steamrolling through Zalgas, who's always been pretty durable and push through to decisions. I think this is good value on the line. Billy?
Yeah, I'm right there, but I just got to check off a couple more boxes. I got to see how many times is he going to be rescheduled against a new person that they're trying to debut against him, that they're trying to feel like I would say build up. Like, I mean, Nate Maness, they're trying to give him a bounce back fight, canceled. Rafael Steve, dude, they're trying to build up, canceled. Felipe Bunes, dude, they're trying to build up, canceled. This dude, Joshua Van, I mean, has he been on the radar for a long time? Is he just a ringer? I mean, he's fighting out of Texas, so he isn't from Florida. I don't really know too much about him. Fight film looked somewhat spotty, like meaning like it looked good, but it was hard to really gauge how good it really looked against a level of competition. It was really only the last fight that he fought somebody real, Cleveland McLean. That dude was 34 years old. That was that was in December. So, I mean, he's rolling right now. And I just can't – it's the price tag. You know me, man. I'm the guy that bet a minus 250 straight. I'll bet a minus 200 straight. Shit, I do that from Tajikistan that made his debut in Bellator. I bet it minus 600 straight. Like, if it's going to win, I'm with you, but – I don't know if the price tag is really wheeling me in. I opened up minus 175, moving up to minus 220. So line movement's telling you Zalgas is the side, but I just don't know if that's the way I want to go this week. I feel like if I do have money on Zalgas, it's going to be like more like the 5th, 6th, 7th leg of the parlay or something like that. I don't know if he's going to be my meat and potatoes, and he's at a meat and potato price tag.
And Nick, what did you say you got Zalgas at initially? Obviously, what you got it at and then what we're putting it out at is totally two different things, but
minus 180.
Okay, so you got it minus
I'm
180.
seeing minus 210, minus 200, minus 200,
Yeah.
minus 200, minus 200 across the
So
board.
lines are starting to move. So a couple people are jumping on the line for the same reason, sucking that last little bit of value out of it.
Yeah, minus 188 is the best line on Betway right now. Is the last of like the line that hasn't been steamed up a little bit.
I mean, who knows at weigh-ins, this line may actually saunter back the other way. It all really depends. It's going to be a narrative situation that's going to really push this line anywhere else. I don't see the line moving much more in Zalgas' favor. It's going to either go the other way or sit. So, okay. Billy, next spot on the card.
Yeah, next spot on this card, probably the chalkiest spot on the card for me. Tatsuro Taira here. It's my guy, man. You got to roll with your guys. I've been waiting for this man to come back. And this is greasy narrative theory, but greasy narrative theory. There's cards early. Cards early. They're trying to find Taira a spot. They put him on the card at 11. I mean, originally this fight card was supposed to be at 12. Now it's starting at 11 o'clock. When he fights, why is Taira, the guy that's supposed to be the sneaky dark horse in the flyweight division, fighting so early on the prelims? Why so? Well, that's prime time, 12 o'clock midnight over there in Asia. I feel like they're giving the boy a rub this time. This is not the opponent, though, that you would think that would be the rub. Cleiton Rodriguez is definitely a guy we've been backing before, but he showed his red flags before, and I think those red flags are going to come again. I mean, Taira has been looking so good, man. 3-0 in the UFC so far. Back-to-back submission wins. He's going to run through this dude like hot like a hot knife
It's a
through butter.
backpack, man.
He's gonna get this sub, and I see the line moving down. Great job. You're making my weekend a lot easier. I'm betting it straight, man. Bet 365 is minus 250 on the board. I'm betting it straight. Get my juice box out. Taitori's gonna run through this dude. Gonna have the sub prop. Love him this week. Best spot on the card. He is who you think he is. He is him. Clayton Rodriguez was supposed to be him before, and he hasn't really lived up to my expectation on the Dana White Contender Series. I lost to CJ Vergara. It was a really bad loss his UFC debut. He was a big favorite that week. He was supposed to run through CJ Vergara. It was a big card spot for him, Oliveira versus Gaethje, and he just did not come to play. This is another big card. This is on UFC. This is UFC on ABC. This is like one of the biggest like cards of the year. This is more valuable than some of the pay-per-views we've been watching, for example. Like, this is a big-time card. Taitori is going to run through this dude. I love the spot for him this week. A lot of repeating, but, like, I got to say, like, Taitori is him. He is going to be the future flyweight champion. He is that good.
You're gonna wow, you're gonna do that. Okay. All right. Damn. No, I'm with you. I backed Tyra pretty big in the past. I think the striking it needs to come along, but he finds a way to get to you no matter what with the takedowns. He's whether it's a sort of a jiu-jitsu style takedown and he slides off to the side, grabs your leg and gets you down and gets that back, and or gets you up against the cage and drags you down. He is really high level once it gets there. Clayton Rodriguez though is really dangerous on the feet for me, and I know that he hasn't shown up in past, but for me it was a little bit of a greasy one. But I 100% see what you're saying. But Nick, I think that you may have another side to this.
I think the line's wide, man.
Let's go.
I think the line's really wide. I don't think it's as close cut as you guys are making it seem. Everybody's saying like Clayton's loss to CJ Vergara was big. If once again, like I use MMA decisions a lot because if there's something that I'm like kind of questioning about, I say, okay, you know, the guys that go out and actually post on social media and write articles, what do they think? Not a single reporter gave that fight to CJ. A lot of them had it a draw, and the majority of them had it for Clayton. It's, you know, Clayton trains at Team Nogueira. He's got great jiu-jitsu in himself. He's just a much better striker. And I think this is a bad matchup in the sense that, like, they're putting two up-and-comers against each other. And that I don't personally know why. I wouldn't have matched make these guys these early on in their UFC careers because I both think these guys have a lot of depth in what they can go. But just from a straight line value, I think the line's just too wide. Because if this fight stays standing for any regard, Clayton's going to beat the shit out of him. Like, it's not going to be close on the feet. So you're relying on the fact that Tyra is going to get him to the ground over and over again. And with his scrambles, even in the CJ Vergara fight, he was able to scramble up a lot. CJ Vergara wasn't able to do too much. And it was kind of more of just holding him down because the guy's like a worm underneath you trying to get back up. So unless Tyra can really show that he can just pin him down, and once again, like maybe you guys are speaking the truth on this, but I think that line's wide, man. Like, and at that point, you're also getting Clayton at plus 600 for the KO prop, where if Tyra gets tired from him trying to get back up, man, second, third round KO is live as shit because we've never seen Tyra face any sort of adversity. Where with Clayton, you can say he faced adversity in the CJ fight because in that first round, he didn't look good. He looked like he was getting some deep waters and he was going to be exposed. And he's able to come back and make that fight a lot closer and lost a very close split decision. So
my thing is like the level of competition. Like you fought Shannon Ross, CJ Vergara, and some bum on the Contender Series, Sancho Cardino, and you're observing 3 strikes per minute. That is really bad, bro. Like I think his striking defense, while some of the shit that he throws is exciting and it looks good, I think his striking defense sucks. So if Taitori is not worried about what's coming one way across the feet, and this guy is more of a grappling guy, he's damn sure not a better grappler than Taitori. So I don't know, man. It's weird. It's weird.
I see both sides of it for both you guys. I think that with Rodriguez, he actually, although he does absorb, and I would say he's not defensively sound, he's a venomous striker, though. He's got some pretty dynamic, crazy finishing power, like finishing sort of sequences, finishing techniques. So that's what's dangerous about it staying on the feet. But the one thing I'll say to sort of counter what Nick was saying, too, the thing about Tyra is, like, it's not just a normal takedown for him. Like he'll shoot the takedown and then he sticks with the takedown. He sticks with the legs and he sticks on you. He's really, really sticky. So in that situation, that's where that takedown, I think if he gets any length of time, eventually he works to potentially attacking a couple submissions, maybe sort of mixes it up on the feet enough. He needs to get control time and pretty much dominate this on the ground. The thing that's had me stay off this was if it does stay on the feet. If we see 2 or 3 takedowns and nothing really comes of them, I mean, I'm betting live. Because I think Rodriguez does have the finishing technique and ability to do it. But at the same time, Tyra really, I mean, once he shores up that little bit of striking, he's going to be a fucking problem. So for me, it's a stay off, but I fully see both sides of it. And I will jump into my play. Any other thoughts?
No, I'm good.
I'm going to go with my dog of the week. And I'm on, like, I don't know if I'm just fading somebody so bad because of his fight IQ and I just don't like him. We know where I'm going with this. You even know where we've done this too much already. You know, Jamal Emmers has no fight IQ. So I'm going to go with Jack Jenkins, man. Talking about venomous, Australian fucking pit viper. That man, everything he lands is damage. And although Emmers does have the reach, he does have the length, he's shown that he gets Sabatini'd, right? Guys can work underneath his guard and land. And what does Jack Jenkins do? He lands axes. He's pretty much Canadian chopping down a fucking Christmas tree when he comes through with those legs. So for me, I mean, the fact that the line, I already hit it at plus 145 when the line was Saturday night, and now we're looking at plus 180. I just think that Jamal Emmers, like, the fight IQ, once again, is always an issue. I think where the line's at right now, that these two stay on the feet. Emmers' style, although I like his Muay Thai, I like the clinch, but it's just not going to work against Jenkins. It's just a bad matchup. He's just, everything that Emmers sort of utilizes when he clinches guys and he lands some of his strikes, he's just going to get chopped down. And he doesn't utilize his distance well. He doesn't close distance well. And I just think that there's so many live spots for Jenkins. Even with the scrambles on the ground, I can see Jenkins even taking his back at points just because he's landing more strikes and just sort of catching Emmers off guard. And maybe I'm fading the guy so hard, and maybe this is a spot where I get burned. But I just like it at plus 180, and especially if the line continues to grow. I think there's maybe some sharps on Emmers thinking there's a difference in maybe the level of competition. But, man, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go with the Venomous Viper and Jack Jenkins, and we're going to see a Christmas tree get chopped down and Jamal Emmers' fight IQ expose itself at some point in the fight again. So I'll take my dog of the week, Jack Jenkins. And I know that you guys might be sort of leaning that way too, but maybe not to play. But what are your guys' thoughts on this one?
No, I was going to say, I like the spot. I couldn't agree anymore. Jack Jenkins, just a fight IQ, Jamal Emmers. I like Jack Jenkins here in the spot, cash cow for me in the Contender Series. So I'm going to keep on riding the train here.
He's Mr. Damage, goes for the finish. I mean, you got to love guys like that, right? And he has the gas tank, so he can back it up. So,
and I lost mad money fading Jamal Emmers last time, so I got to make that back.
Fair enough. Yeah, I know. It always burns you. Like, whenever I feel like I'm fading someone so hard, I really got to look at the other fighter and make sure that there's paths. And I think that there's paths. So I don't think – and I wanted to throw it by you guys to see if I'm seeing something crazy or not, and I don't think I am. So.
Yeah, honestly, for me, it's kind of a show me spot on both sides. Like, there's a lot of money that keeps coming in on Emmers. And as much as I side with you guys on the dog, I don't know if I can personally pull the trigger on it just because I don't think I've seen enough from Jack Jenkins for me to really understand him where he is in the UFC. So I like the fight goes to decision, minus 138. I see this being a close competitive fight, and I don't really see a finish on either side of it. And I think you're getting good value on it. I think both guys are going to respect each other's powers. I think the striking exchange is going to be close, and the grappling, it could be close as well. So I think it'll be easier. One, if you live bet, this is probably the perfect fight because you're really going to see who's able to take over. But I think ultimately this fight probably hits the judges' scorecards. So if I had any play on it, it would be the fight goes to decision.
I'm glad you said the fight's going to go to the judges' scorecards because a new thing that they added in MMA betting this year for the year 2023 is the spread for the fights. And I think this is actually an opportunity here, even though you're going to pay the chalk price tag for a little bit. I think Jack Jenkins on the plus 3.5 handicap spread would be the bet. If you think this fight's going to go to decision, Nick, do you think Jack Jenkins probably gets one of the 3 rounds, right?
For sure, yeah. I think he wins the fight. It's too close for me to come out right there and say it.
I'm right there with you because I don't know if I want to bet the plus 175 or try to fish for a plus 3.5 handicap line. I think it's on DraftKings to be exact. If you could bet the plus 3.5 handicap side, on Jack Jenkins on the spread. I think that's the way to go. I think he wins one of the 3 rounds. I don't know if he pulls out the fight. I would lean towards him pulling out the fight. I'm picking him, but I think that's the way to go right there. Kyle, what are your thoughts and opinions? Have you ever bet the spread before?
I haven't jumped into that, but I think that actually is a way that I could tailor off some of my plays and sort of be a little bit wiser with some spots. I think on those spots that I'm not as passionate about, where I'm like, okay, and then even have some of your insight and look at maybe we're tailoring back some of these. And the +3.5, that's not bad at all. What was the line currently sitting at?
It's not out yet. I just signed up
okay.
to DraftKings. It's not quite there yet, but
I think it is something that we definitely need to start looking at, because I mean, I think a lot of people are looking at those lines and want to hear about those lines, and I think that maybe that's something we should try to bring into the fold at least once a week, at least one spot.
Because think about, if we would have bet Jasmine Jazovic on the +3.5, because we all were kind of leaning Jazz, but we're like, do we go to the window? It's more of like we're watching the card. Yeah, we're probably throw a couple bucks on her or something like that.
But if
we
on Anthony Romero
+3.5, we would have been money in the bank, man.
For sure, you're right. All right, yeah, I think it's definitely something that we have to start looking at. It's not something I've really dove into, but definitely something we got to look at. So that will actually bring me to my next spot. If we're looking at it, we have I got to be a little bit of a homer. I got to be a regional homer. I've been backing this guy for so long to make it to the big show, and I think that his skill level is there. And usually when I feel so strongly about someone that I've seen regularly, I've seen a lot of fighters come up and through the years. And there's a select few. And if you listen to coaches in the area, you listen to fighters in the area, there was a last guy that got rubbed like this. It was OAM. And you got a guy in Anthony Romero. A lot of people are high on this guy. A lot of people wanted to see him make it to the big show. And here's why I'm actually going to attack this fight and not just do a piece about it, because he's +400 right now. And I get that OAM is a decision king, but right now, if you're looking at the line is minus 265, I think, to go to decision. It's minus 300 for over 2.5, but you have Romero who's +400. And I get it, it's a step up in competition, but everything that these guys do, they do very similarly. And a lot of people are looking at OAM's wrestling, and they're thinking that's going to play a huge role in this and get Romero on his back, where we've seen him at moments, but so long ago. And for him, his scrambles are there. He whizzes out and grabs those hands every time somebody shoots for a takedown on him, and he takes your back, or he'll take you down, or he grabs your leg, he runs the pipe, and he takes you down. He knows how to chain wrestle with the best of them. And it's a camp that is killing everybody, that everybody is just pretty much undervaluing at times. Jasmine's camp. He's from Niagara Top Team, right? He's got his own gym. He trains with Lyndon Whitlock out in Oakville at Aegis, and he does all of his striking there, which is one of the top striking coaches in Canada. And then he goes out to Niagara and he brings in all his grappling and his wrestling. So I just think that there's value at this line. I think it's crazy that if these two fought, that we don't think, if it goes to the judges' scorecards, which Vegas is telling us it's probably going to, that you're not going to take a shot on a dog at +400 about Anthony Romero, and you've never really watched his fights. Don't even look at the line. There's no point. If you've known about him and you don't actually want to jump on this right now, I don't know, man. I just think it's crazy. I'm a huge, and to do the flip side of this, I'm a huge OAM backer. Like, by decision, death taxes, and him. He finished his last fight and fucked me on that one. That sort of sucked. Left myself exposed with just OAM by decision. But the reality is, this guy is a decision machine, and he is a high-level fighter. This is going to be potentially, and a lot of people say it's going to be a stalemate at points. A lot of people are expecting a boring fight. So once again, a narrative of boring fight that goes to decision potentially, and you're going to tell me that a +400 dog is sitting in there with a high-level fighting coming out of one of the best camps in Canada? +400, sign me up. I'll take it. My Canadian bias play of the week, even though it's a Canadian eating a Canadian.
See, I got a counterpart for this. The best bet of that PFL card has to be Raj Bonfio. He is +150 again, 6-1 in the PFL so far, and has been an underdog for every fucking fight. Jolton Loderback, PFL debut, +185, cash. Anthony Pettis, +155, cash. Clay Collar, +150, cash. Lokic Robinov, who's fighting this weekend on the UFC card, +220, cash. Don Madge, a dude that the UFC cut but was really high on, +115, cash. Only person he lost to, OAM, who ended up winning the championship last year. Bad stylistic matchup, +135, loss. Alex Martinez, -105 last time. Underdog, again, slight underdog, cash. +150 against Natan Schultz. I'm not believing the hype. He's on a 3-fight win streak, but the last fight that he fought was against Stevie Ray. I mean this in the slightest of ways, but like he's going through a lot of shit right now.
Yeah,
he's got a kid with
that's fair.
cancer. He's running a gym. He's coaching. He's got businesses and stuff like that. His head's not all there right now. That's an easier fight for him. Now we're getting him at plus 150 against the Schultz. Best bet of the card. Rosh Monfio, 2022's most profitable underdog. He's coming back around for another claim at that title.
And that wasn't a counter, man. All you did was add more value. You added an extra spot for the PFL card, one that's maybe a little bit more of a higher clip hitting dog. Obviously, we see that right there. And I've been on the Roush Manfield side as well too. So great that if you've been on side for the whole train, you've added in an extra piece for the PFL. And Nick, as we're doing a PFL little quick clip, any spots that you can think of?
Man, I haven't looked too much into it.
It's all good. We're gonna just get you on the WMMA, and we'll get you on the over.
Over 2.5. You bet every women's fight over 2.5. You can buy the house that I own right now.
But then there's me, who's been actually cashing on these women's fights lately. So actually, and you know what? As much as I threw the PFL
women's fights has been nice.
I'm gonna jump into this spot that I've been really debating on whether I'm gonna throw it out there, and it's a homer fucking bias play again. But it's a prop, and it's also looking at the line again. So basically, if we're looking at, just because we sort of went over that quickly with the Anthony Romero thing, we have Jillian Robertson against Ricci. And a lot would argue at the level of jiu-jitsu that Ricci has is way better than Robertson's and what we've seen. And she's stronger, a little bit more of an athlete. We got Robertson's a little bit more of a stoner.
She is a stoner, bro. She smokes an ounce in a week, bro.
An ounce in a week. I thought she's the best. I saw that on your boy's thing.
You clearly did not listen to her on Joe Rogan talking about how much
that's what I want to get into. The way that she submits. Fuck about the weed. So when she's on Joe Rogan, she's talking about the way that she actually attacks her submissions. It's opposite of what every jiu-jitsu practitioner will tell you. She attacks submission before position. So she's not actually even shoring up anything. She's opportunistic with everything she does because she has this way that she grabs her chokes. And Dean Thomas has made this a strategy in everything that they do. So it's interesting that Jillian Robertson is plus 400 by sub, and Tabitha Ricci, who's the better jiu-jitsu practitioner, is plus 565 by sub. And Ricci is the favorite, minus 135, and Robertson is plus 120. So for me, I know it's sort of an experiment in the way that, are we going to see this opportunistic sub catch itself, come off a club and sub, or maybe even on the ground when she's on top? I'm going to take a shot on it. So I'm going to look at the plus 400 Robertson. Do I think if these girls fight a bunch of times, it could go greasy either way? 100%. I really didn't want to have any action on it, but I think that Robertson's jiu-jitsu is being faded here. She has the most subs in women's division right now. So it's like, I don't know, man. I just think that with Robertson, I didn't want to touch it for the obvious reasons. You can actually even get her plus 120 right now in some books. I didn't want to touch her for the Canadian bias reasons and whatever else, but I just think that if she can grab that neck quick, I mean, anybody's neck can go. And a lot of people would be surprised, like, holy shit, she submitted Ricci. But it's like plus 400, the book's telling me some things. I may be overthinking it, but it's worth a little sprinkle. So that would be my last little spot that I'm throwing out there.
It's a value play for sure, but like I don't know, man. Like Jillian's the type of fighter that looks good till she doesn't. You know what I mean? Like she looks like the fight, she looks good and she looks dominant, but whenever she don't look good, man, like she looks like shit. And I just think, I don't know, man. Like I think Ricci's a little bit more on the up and coming. Like the line's kind of gone back and forth. I don't see much value betting either side of this. Like plus 400 is nice because you're betting the win condition. That's
all I'm betting. It's not about that.
I would just bet fight ends in sub then.
Ricci, well, yeah, I mean, you could do that too. But Ricci is like, her stand-up on the feet is not that great. I mean, I get it with Robertson when she spots some really good strikers. She's looked like a fish out of water. But I just think it's more for the sub. It's more for the stylistic way that she attacks them. No one attacks subs like that. No one does.
Yeah, it's like for sure. But like,
hit or miss, dude. She's gonna
nobody
go for that
attacks subs like Ryan Hall, and he still gets his ass kicked in 50% of his
which
fights.
is what I was just about to say. So she could go for it, slip off, and Ricci could take her back and take her neck, 100%.
Yeah.
But then I'm looking at.
I'm gonna give you a hypothetical scenario. Close your eyes right now.
I'm good.
Think
All right,
about
my eyes
watching the
for
card
the
on
audio.
Saturday. Tabitha Ricci wins, and they say, "Baby shark, do 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 boo, baby shark, do 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 do, baby shark, do 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 do, baby shark," and that's how it's gonna go.
which is
Yeah,
why
you-
it's not a pick side. It's a sprinkle on the sub. Hey, next spot. We're
Yeah,
being a dead horse here.
Yeah. Let's talk
I
about
pretty much agree with you guys. Just I'm on that sprinkle. It is what it is. Next. What we
let's
got?
talk about my boy Randy Brown, who's gonna KO William Turman. Callum knows me. We've been doing this podcast for a while, man. There's two people I hate in the UFC. One of them's gone. That's Fabio Charant, fucking water buffalo. I was so happy to see that guy leave the UFC.
So horrible. Go on.
And the second one is William Turman. I think this guy's awful, man. He went to a split decision with Sam Alvey. He occasionally looks decent and makes me lose money because I will never bet on this guy in my life. But I think Randy Brown's just going to Nate Diaz this guy. He's going to dance around, box him up. I already got Randy Brown by KO plus 175. The line's already starting to drop because everybody knows William Turman sucks. And Randy Brown's just going to come in here and kick his ass from pillar to post. Even if Turman does get him down, I can't see him holding Randy Brown down. And I just see, people may put a little bit of money the other way because Randy Brown got beat by Jack Della, but Jack Della is way on the up and come. Yeah, dude, he's a fucking murderer.
He's a serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Like that dude does terrible things to people. So I'm on Randy Brown all day, man. That's it. That KO plus 175, I think is a hammer play. And yeah, fuck William.
Yeah, I had Brown part of a parlay that I had put together that was going to be actually a play for me. Now since one of the fights has fallen off now, so Brown is not going to. I can't touch it money line alone, but I'm fully with you on the breakdown there. I think Turman, although he has pretty solid jiu-jitsu and will try for the takedowns, I just think Brown's going to be longer, be able to leverage those arms in there, sort of get those underhooks, spread out on the cage, defend some of that cage work. Maybe get taken down a couple of times, but then work back to the cage and then reverse and get back up himself. And then when he's on the feet, he's just going to touch him up, like you're saying. I like Randy Brown pretty heavily in this spot. And if he can find a parlay, I think he's a parlay piece as well, too. I'm just not I'm not big on Turman. What's your thoughts on this one, Billy?
This is my biggest spot in the card, man. I can't fully talk about it, but I know a little bit of insight about this one.
You throw out a little top and leave it where it is.
Yeah, a friend of a friend. I know a little something about this fight. Under 2.5. Best bet of the card. Best bet of the card. Just bet the under 2.5.
Got it. Okay. So stuff that we can't talk. I get it. I'll just shut up and we'll keep moving on.
If Turman wins this fight, I'm not doing this podcast ever again.
I'm telling you, bro. Don't be surprised if Wellington Turman submits him. I will be having money on Wellington Turman money line submission prop plus 600, but under 2.5. Best bet of the card. Best bet of the card.
Well, I'll have to maybe touch that up when you see. I've never seen you pretty adamant about something, so we will leave that rate where it is, but see the value in it. So, what is your next spot on the card, sir? Or they'll be gone past.
Last spot on the card here. Little greasy, man. Man, this is one of those weeks where I think I'm going back to my old self. I had a really good 2021 career. Actually, that's really how I got a little bit more popular in the MMA community, was betting on women's MMA fights. So shouts to Melissa Gatto. But as I digress a little bit, the future has arrived. It's a time. It's got to be now or never. Death, taxes, Macy Barber by robbery here.
Okay.
It's coming, man. It's coming. I'm on the Macy Barber money line here this weekend. I'm an Amanda Ribas fan. I love Amanda Ribas, but some way, somehow, this fight's gonna go to the judges' scorecards. It's gonna go to Macy Barber, and she's gonna win. And on top of that, the fact that she knows that she's been fighting close decisions, I think we're gonna see the best version of Macy Barber in a long ass time. 4-fight win streak.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, her losses are really Alexa Grasso, Roxanne Modify. I gotta roll with my girl. Macy Barber, this is where we start thinking about her in the title shot contention. It's gonna be this weekend. I don't ever really bet underdogs in the co-main event. Just something about that this year. The co-main event favorites, but going against that this week, Macy Barber is probably the best bet of the main card, honestly. Straight money line shot. Besides Brandon Allen, I think he's the first fight in the main card. Macy Barber would be my second favorite bet on the card.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Macy Barber side of things. I think that she's shown, like, every camp she's been getting better, man. And that transition from her striking to her wrestling to her grappling, like, there's little fine points you can see in her striking if you watch tape. It's tightened up. It's cleaned up to set up her wrestling better. Her cage work, she's more aggressive with her strikes when she's holding people up against the cage, realizing that she needs to, be more active to make sure that the judges are seeing her as the distinct victor. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I know that she's been in greasy decisions. I know that she was on the other side, or she was on the winning side of that Maverick sort of side of thing, that bad call, and everybody sort of faded her from then. The MMA community didn't like her after that one. And I know she was talking a big game and everything else, but since then, she sort of shut her mouth. And she's just been working. She's been busting her ass. You see her in camp. I follow Team Alpha Male pretty heavily because of Mike Malott. It's just all of my channels online, a lot of the fighters that are through there. And I see a lot of the camps, man. She's a badass. She's getting better and better. And I probably will even hit Macy Barber by decision. So I'm with you on it, man. Macy Barber. She's sort of become one of my, or maybe might become one of my death taxes situations. But I'm with you on that. Nick, over 2.5.
Over 2.5. Well, yeah, honestly, though, I think Rebaz wins. I really think Rebaz is a much better fighter. I think Rebaz kind of struggled a little bit earlier in her career, and she's shown more leaps and bounds. Macy Barber's getting a good push. The community's like split on this one, right? Like, there's some people that hate her, and there's some people that absolutely love her. But I feel like her fights are always very close, and she's kind of gifted these decisions. And I don't know, man. Like, I think Rebaz just pieces her up. If it's a grappling exchange, I think Rebaz is a better grappler. And I think, like, you talk skillful striking, like, I think Rebaz is a much better striker. So, like, unless, as Billy said, this is a robbery, like, I don't see a world where Macy Barber puts on, like, a dominant decision. Like, she's kind of doing the whole hold people against the cage and kind of ride these things out.
But I think that strategy could be it, though. I feel like one part is Rebaz is a strawweight. She moved up the flyweight. She isn't that physically stout like the other girls. Like when she fought Caitlin Chikagian, she kind of struggled with the strength of that fight. I think that could be a way Macy Barber could win. I think she's stronger than this girl. I think she's going to be a lot stronger than this girl.
Yeah, but betting on people not to fight is kind of like I get it. Like, it's a strategy, but like.
But the one thing that there's a little bit of vividness bias here, because I think, as I'll take something from Jimmy the Bag, but I think we see Macy Barber holding girls up against the fence, but that's not exactly the case in her last fight, man. And if you actually watch back tape and look at the stats, like, she's throwing. She's starting to be able to get better position in order to feel better to land. She looked better in the judges' scorecards there, and he's going to stats right now. But I think Macy Barber, there's just progression, man. There's been distinct, obvious progression in her game. I think she sort of humbled herself a little bit. She's had to get better in camp. So I'm on the Macy Barber.
I feel like Rebaz has been stagnant. To go into, like, we see one fighter progress and the other one's been stagnant. Rebaz has been very stagnant. She was supposed to already be here in this spot, and she's failed and failed and failed. And every time she gets that little step up, the Marina Rodriguez, the Caitlin Chikagian, she fails, man.
And I mean, we got Emmett in camp too, obviously fighting on the card too. So that camp's always in full gear. And I just think momentum, even if you do get a decision that maybe some people don't think you should have, like, you don't hear that shit as a fighter. You're going to your camp. You're going to your people. You're not listening to fucking YouTubers talking about how you shouldn't have won a decision. You're feeling momentum. You're getting better and better. And it's just, I'm a momentum guy. I think momentum is a real thing in this game. I think camps get bigger and you get better. It's the same concept of when you become a champion, you're 30% better. Well, yeah, it's the same concept when your camp's winning, when you're winning. I'm sorry. Belief is there. I'm in Macy Barber backer on this one. So, Nick, kick rocks. Love you, though.
To be honest, I'm more shocked that there's so many good fights on this card, and we spent more time talking about both women's MMA fights than the other fights on this card.
It's been,
but the women's MMA spots on this card is a lot of value. I mean, if you feel one way or another on the Tabitha Ricci, Jillian Robertson, you're either getting real good plus money or you're getting a really good line straight, or the Amanda Rebus, Macy Barber line. Like, I think Macy Barber, if you rank the dogs on the card, shit, I'd rather bet Macy Barber than Austin Lane. Like, and I like Austin Lane this week.
Yeah, I agree in a sense. Like, it's probably going to go to a decision. It's probably going to be greasy. It's just like as for like an angle perspective, it's like, fuck, man. Like, I look at this car, or I look at this fight, and I'm like in my head, I'm like, Rebus probably pieces her up, but then I'm like, there's a real world where where judges gave Macy Barber a decision over Miranda Maverick. I'm like, fuck, you may as well just blindly bet her. Don't even need to break it down.
I'll give you a hypothetical scenario. If you had to go to the book and there was 2 fights to bet on, would you rather bet Cedric Dumas or Macy Barber?
Can I bet an under on the Cedric Dumas fight?
No,
because if that's the case, then
I'm just saying, from like a line perspective in comparison to the card, people around the same exact price tag. Bruno Silva, Joshua Van,
It's a good way to look at it.
David Anama, Austin Lane. Out of all the dogs on the card, Macy Barber's by far the most talented
But
dog
my
on the
only
card.
thing to say is you talk about all the guys you said, or like Cedric Dumas, right? Like I could bet this guy to win KO because if he's gonna win, that's his win condition, right? Like I see a path to victory for both. At the end of the day, whenever I look at this Amanda Ribas Macy Barber fight, I see a greasy fight that 3 other dudes who are generally incapable of making a good decision have to make the decision if I won money or not. Where if Cedric Dumas gets KO'd, I'm not surprised. Or if Cedric Dumas KOs Cody Brown, just
it's a definitive. I get it.
Yeah, like
but
at
you're
least
getting
I'm like
talent and you're getting the judges rub. When do we know already?
See, you guys are talking about 2 different kinds of value, and you're both right. But I love it. It's a good conversation.
Dude, we already know if it goes to the judges' scorecards and it's a robbery, it's called the Macy Barber. We've seen it twice already. You got to see it a third time. Like
I already hate enough people in my life, though. I just I don't want to put that on the judges, because I'm gonna be sitting there with that ticket.
Split decision. We all agree this is a greasy split decision.
So
I'm not going to fall out of my
Barber's
chair.
made a career.
I'm going to stop this conversation now and be rude, and I'm not going to fall out of my chair like John Anik. I'm going to leave the last pick to Nick, and I think I know who it is. And if you don't bring up another pick, I'm gonna say the dog you talked about. Nick, what's your final play?
I don't, dude. You just caught me off guard, dude. We were talking so much. Who's my final play? Who am I talking about here?
I mean, I was looking at Phil Rowe, and so were you, and I think that's something that you were talking about. So I faded Neil Magny in the past because he just does not look good to judges. But if you aren't going to highlight it, I will just touch on it quick.
Yeah, well, no, I did already take Philip Rowe by KO, but that's one of these fights, and I said I won't call it an official play, but we'll get a little greasy with this. Like Philip Rowe, you guys got 100% finish rate, right? And we look at Neil Magny, and Neil Magny to me, like he only beats killers. So like this is one of these fights, man. With this fight, once again, like you talk about a fight you don't want to bet, this is the one. Because just in my opinion, I
just think Magny's on the tail end, man. I think that he just looks so bad in his last couple fights. Like even in wins, he's getting hit, and he's sort of the way his style, he sort of falls off the punches. And when he's doing it, it looks bad to the judges every time. I've referenced it many times. And I think that he's not getting the rub as well, too, as much as he used to in the past. And he's always been a guy at backs. Like he's been it used to be a death taxes and Magny scenario. And I just think he's on the tail end. So I think that depending on where that line goes, it's just worth a little look. I think Rowe does have some maybe finishing ability, but I don't know if he gets Magny out of there. But I do think he's going to have moments where he tags the shit out of him. And I think that Magny's going to fall into the cage and then maybe scramble, get his back at points maybe. I don't think he submits him, but I think he's going to be able to have his dominant situations too. And I think it can get greasy. So I just think that there is some potential value in Phil Rowe if it does go up and over. I get the strength of schedule, but I just think Magny, I don't know, man. He takes those punches and falls off his shots and falls into the cage, and I don't know if he realizes it's a bad habit that he does.
I think you should live bet this fight because I think it's going to be very clear. Like if Magny can land takedowns, then it's probably going to be Magny for the better part of 3 rounds of Phil Rowe just trying to get up. But if he starts to struggle, man, like one of my best plays, and I've been a big Phil Rowe backer, is I told all my buddies, I'm like, live bet Phil Rowe. I'm like, because Arar Nikasi, he's going to be able to take him down in the first, but we're going to see how he looks. The guy's got gassing issues. And Phil Rowe is a relatively big dog going to the second round, and I'm like, jump on this shit now. And lo and behold, man, like he was just able just to KO him in the second round. And Phil Rowe is one of these guys, man, like he doesn't need to hit you that many times for you to fucking suffer. So, and even then, man, you look at his next fight, right? Like he's able to come in there and KO Nico Price, who Nico Price has been pretty much invincible whenever it comes to it. He's been like the Marvin Vettori type guy where he can just take an absolute beating and come back. So I think from live betting perspective, man, like you're going to see where the fight direction is going. And if Phil Rowe starts to land those shots at the line that it is now, you could probably still get some plus money before it completely flips.
I like it.
Now I'll tell you the reason why to live bet it. When has Phil Rowe ever won a first round of an MMA fight? At all the times I backed Phil Rowe or faded Phil Rowe, he just drops the first round. He reminds me of Marlon Chito Vera in the aspect of like, it just takes him. I think maybe all that changes because I'll counterpart this. He's fighting out of Orlando, Florida. This is in Jacksonville. He better be excited for this. because this is a winnable fight. Magny, 8 out of 10 of his losses inside the distance. It's Phil Rowe, ITD, man. I love that spot here. A lot of dogs, and a couple of favorites that I do like, but it is a money in the bank card. Definitely my favorite card of the month.
So as we bring our own spots to it, this sort of seems to be a spot that we're all sort of on. And I think Nick, you had already got out 3 spots, but when I go back, I'll make sure that all 3 spots are lined up properly. If this ends up being an extra one, maybe we'll look at it as just sort of like a three play team pick type thing. But we sort of have our own plays. That's great. But what about that parlay? If we look at Randy Bruboy Brown, and I was going to ask you maybe Cody Brundage and Cedric Dumas fight doesn't go to decision. What is that? Do you think that happened?
I would not be parlaying Randy Brown. No, cannot. No.
Come on. Oh yeah, you're that's right. You're on the tournament side of things, so we can't make that the parlay. So let's find it. What is the spot that we fully agree on? I know that it's not going to be Tyra.
No distance, Trevor Peak, first leg of the parlay.
Minus 7,000.
Is that what it is? Awesome.
No, I think it's minus 560.
I mean, if there isn't a parlay, that's cool too. But if you guys can see one, I'm with it. I'll tell you what. Howard and Barber is a late parlay.
What my parlay, and once again, this is where we can't add Randy Brown into it. But I already have a parlay with Gabriel Santos and Randy Brown. Just I think they're the two, not because they're the 2 biggest favorites on the card. It's just, well, I guess Elia is out there, but I'm just confident in both spots. But this guy's telling me Turman's going to win, and to be honest, if there's anything that's going to ruin my Saturday, it's seeing Turman not have one more check mark towards him getting the fuck out of the UFC. So if Turman wins, man, I'm just gonna be set. I'm not even watching this card on Saturday. I'm gonna look at my phone. I'm gonna see Turman won. I'm just gonna start shocking.
Make sure you're watching the Matus Versbesky and Loic Razabov fight. That's gonna be. I think that's gonna be a good one to watch. Not one I want to touch. I just don't know how to attack. What?
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. I got an idea for you though. This popped into my head. What about a time prop parlay? No distance, Trevor Peak. No distance, Randy Brown, Turman. The over 2.5 in the co-main Macy Barber Rebus.
I like it. That's a fire play.
I'll do it because I may even sprinkle the Brown decision and finish or something. I'll figure that out the way I attack that if I do, and that'll be separate.
Or we take the over out and put the no distance and Cody Brundage, Cedric Dumas. Run a violence parlay.
Okay, so Nick, do you want to build that right now and then let us know what it is? Okay, so Donttap Podcast Violence Parlay. Billy, have at it.
Yep. Cody Brundage, Cedric Dumas fight doesn't go to distance with Trevor Peak, Chepe Marcel, and then Randy Ruboy Brown versus Wellington Turman. All 3 of those fights not to go to distance.
Okay, so that is the violence parlay for this week. And on the out, Billy, if you could say your 3 big spots.
Yeah, 3 big spots, under 2.5. Randy Brown, Wellington Turman, Macy Barber on the money line, and Brandon Allen on the money line this week.
And Nick?
Caught me off guard here. I don't even remember what's
this is supposed to be quick, cut, and efficient so I can clip it, homie. Making my life easier so I can get your guys shit out quicker. So
we talked so much about women's MMA. I don't even remember what the fuck my 3 spots were.
Write them down if you have to and say your 3 spots quick.
You just caught me completely off.
Sorry, I had to put my dad hat on for a fucking second there.
Dude,
I'm old as shit. Okay, I'm going to say my 3 spots. So I'm right with Billy on his spot. I'm fully with Brendan Allen. I see a lot of different angles on this one. I really do like the Brendan Allen 3rd round decision at plus, what are we sitting at? Plus 225. I may change how I attack this fight officially, but I do like that 3rd round decision. I also like the Allen sub at plus 163. How I attack this fight might be, I may do the round sub sprinkles depending on how they look. And, I may talk a little bit with Billy about that more too, but I think that is probably the way I'm going to look at it. We'll do the 3rd round decision and then just attack the sub at plus 163, unless the value gets better. And my other spot on the card will be, I got to go with it. I know it's a regional bias a little bit, but when you're telling me it's going to go to decision a lot and you're telling me that judges have been greasy as hell, you just don't know. And you're going to give me Anthony Romero, who I believe is one of the biggest prospects to come out of Canada in a very long time. I've been right about some of this stuff recently. I'll take it. I'll ride it. I'll go with my instincts on this one. I think that plus 400 is way too fucking wide. I get why that they do it because no one really knows who Anthony is. And the the level of competition that's OAM has been at is pretty high level, but plus 400 is way too fucking wide. Give me Anthony Romero, the genius, Mr. Fight IQ, the thing that you got to back. And then lastly, I was looking at Jack Jenkins as my dog. We got Jack Jenkins at plus 180. So Jack Jenkins, I think, is just everything's damage. He's a killer. He goes for it with everything that he throws. Just the stylistic matchup wise, we got Muay Thai against Muay Thai pretty much. We got a guy who's going to be able to cut underneath, Emmers and that horrible fight IQ of his and chop him down like a Christmas tree. So I'm going to go with Jack Jenkins at plus 180 as the dog. And I think the line might even get better. So for me, this fight's going to take place on the feet. Both guys solid takedown defense. That's the play. And lastly, I mean, we talked about the Robertson Ricci. I'm going to sprinkle Robertson submission plus 400. Leave me alone. I'm taking my ball and run home. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, so actually I just realized I didn't actually go over 3 plays. I went over 2, but we just talked about a lot. So my first play is Zalgaz minus 188. My second play that we didn't talk about is Justin Tafa KO minus 125. I hit that one fairly hard. Yeah, it's nothing to talk about, man. His opponent comes in just throwing absolute wild, and Tafa ultimately has decent striking, man, and he has the KO power. Opponent's been KO'd a bunch. That minus 125 is a steal. He's going to sleep in the first round. So, Justin Tafa KO minus 125. And Randy Brown, who we, although being a very sizable favorite, may end up making me have a real bad Saturday. And William Turman.
Don't know why, but
I'm just,
under 2.5.
I have a decent bet on Randy Brown KO plus 175.
It's all good, homie.
So.
If you go Randy Rude Boy Brown, you hit that already, and then you just tail to the capper and you go with Billy and you tail that and you go the under, then you got potentially a double hit, if not maybe at least just one hit. So
the only two for like if Turman wins and then I wake up Sunday morning and Fabio Sharon got signed to the UFC again, I'm just done. I got nothing else to say, man. Like that's kind of.
I would not rule out, man. Well, let's determine the win by submission at plus 600 is stupid.
I'm gonna call it now. Billy, close your eyes for a minute. If that happens, Nick will never come on the podcast again because he just
I can't do that.
He's gonna run away, and it's the new podcast is gonna be Billy and the Kid.
If Turman wins, I will start trying to be more educated in women's MMA.
I think you're missing out because I think there's so many angles lately, and I think that a lot of them don't hit the judges' scorecards lately, and I just think that there's always spots. So
it's crazy. The 2 women's MMA fights are 2 of my more confident picks of the card, honestly.
I'm finding that when I look down the card, man, instinctually, I always try to see those couple spots, and usually the women's MMA spots jump out at me. I don't know. I think that's
boys. We are circling back into this, and
we are. It's okay. We're not circling back into it. For Nick Eagle Eye, for Billy Briz, I'm Callum McGregor. Tune into the Donttap Podcast.